9D6 is a game system invented by Andreas Filigoy, the same designer of 4 Against Darkness, and it is a system for solo adventuring. For now we have 2 games based in the system, 9D6 Quest, which is for fantasy adventures, and then we have 9D6 ScareQuest, 96 ScareQuest for horror adventures. It's a solo system. I guess you can play cooperative as long as you're making all the decisions together. You can get the book in physical copy, printed on demand. I have the files, and so I just made my own copy and I printed it so that then I can just remove the pages that I need whenever I need them, as you see. They're already, and I'll show you those later. 96, I'll talk about the general game system later, but generally speaking, again, the fantasy one, designed by Sfiligoy and with art by Andrea Grassi, that is a human being, very nice art, full of charm. We'll see how the human beingness is important here. So, every time you play the game, you will roll a random mission, say Free the Temple, Monster Slaying, for example, and then you will roll a random map. And so, for example, maybe we are freeing the temple on this map, and so we start from a random hex and we need to reach the temple and do things. Another time maybe monster slaying, another time maybe money trouble or quest for the magic item, but this time I do one of those on this other map, for example. So, great variety there. The mission will give you, let's call it a script, so that tells you for that mission what you need to do and what happens in specific terrain hexes, and so you combine the two and you play. The other one, the horror one, the ScareQuest, designed by the same designer but with AI art, as you can probably immediately tell, by now we have become used to that. And it has more of a structure of a traditional game book, in that you have 3 adventures, 2 short ones and a longer one, and you have maps, and that is the map for the longer one, for example. In the 3 adventures, we're going out there to defeat an evil witch. And so again, more traditional game book structure. You will place a token to indicate your starting position. You will move to these locations and you will read paragraphs on the book telling you what happens there and what are the challenges. And you go around until you defeat 5 minions of the evil witch, and then you need to reach the castle of Necronia, the evil witch, and defeat her too. So this is more like a, again, traditional game book. But we said it's called 9D6 because that is the game system that we're going to use to resolve challenges and tests and things like that. Because you're going to use 9 dice. And here's the display that you're going to use for the ScareQuest. The one for the fantasy quest is very similar, and the general idea is still the same. You will need at least 9 dice to play, and these 9 dice represent your life points. If something happens to them, they go from healthy or fresh to scared, and then from scared they go to terrified, and from terrified they go to killed, and they're out of the game. You lose the game if all of your dice have been eliminated. My recommendation is to use dice of different types, so 3 different types in particular. Like here I have like white, orange, and purple. Also, this dice seem to be appropriate for the classic horror / Halloween theme. Why so? The idea is this, that if you have fresh dice, you should roll those as much as possible. If you don't have those, you roll these, and so on and so forth. But you may have a situation where maybe this is what you got. And after you roll them, you need to get them back to where they came from, or to apply effects to them. So if this one gets downgraded, it goes here, but if this one gets downgraded, it goes here. So my recommendation is, well, this way what I usually do is, like you see, I mark which ones are which. So if I'm gonna roll, there you go. If I'm gonna roll these dice together, I know that these were fresh and these were scared at the beginning, and I apply effects accordingly. So the tasks, speaking of dice, I also recommend another die different from them all for probability. So I use one with the Arabic numerals. Sometimes the game will tell you there's 2 chances in 6 that something happens. And so you roll a die. 1 to 2, the thing happens. 3 to 6, it doesn't. There are 3 chances in 6. Roll the probability die. 1 to 3 it happens, 4 to 6 it doesn't. So I don't have to mess these dice here, have a probability die. You may get effects items that will give you extra dice. Oh, we have a weapon that gives you 2 extra dice when you attack a vampire. So I use the type for temporary extra dice. And you will gain experience points, and you can turn, they're called will points here, and you can turn 10 of them, you can spend them to get extra dice. So now it's a 10d6, and one of the dice that I like to use is this one, and it replaces the one with a cat, which is very important because we said the tests will give you a level of difficulty. Say I'm attacking a monster difficulty 4. When I take a test, and I recommend, of course, using a dice tower and the loudest you can possibly find because it's fun that way. When you take a test, you can roll as many dice as you want. Isn't that great? As many as you want. Again, starting from the fresh, then the scared, then the terrified. And suppose I'm attacking a monster difficulty 4 and I decide to roll 4 dice. Now, I roll them. Each result, which is equal to or higher than the task, is a success. Very often you just need a single one to determine that you succeeded. In ScareQuest, if I'm attacking a monster, each success is a hit if I'm attacking the monster. So right now I definitely pass a task of difficulty 4. A 6 is always a success, and a 1 will cause a die to be downgraded. So actually this was my roll against a difficulty 4. Yes, I'm going to read the section and apply the effects for passing that test, but this one will get scared and this will go back there. Combat is a test of this kind, or a series of tests of this kind. The enemy will have difficulty, say difficulty 4, and a certain number of health points, say 3. And also an effect of what happens when they attack me. I start by attacking. Again, I choose any number of dice that I want. Suppose I decide to attack with 3. Did we say difficulty is 4? Yeah, that says 4. So I'm attacking and I rolled a 6, a 4, and a 1. This one is downgraded and these are hits. I applied those. Now my enemy lost 2 health points. Now it's my turn to defend, and defend is again a test of this type. Again, I can choose as many dice as I want, here to defend, and I need to match or exceed the difficulty of the enemy. And this is similar to For Against Darkness, in which the enemies never roll dice. You roll against the difficulty to attack, and then you roll against the difficulty to defend. And suppose that I decide to roll 2 dice to defend against some also difficulty 4. And I pass that test. I don't even have any downgraded stuff. And now it's my turn to attack again. I attack with 3. Uh-oh, that one gets downgraded. And, ooh, 2 get downgraded, but I also scored a hit, which I believe kills the monster I just made up. And again, suppose I was attacking with a special weapon or other kind of advantages I may have at the dice to add. That's how combat works. If I had missed in my defense, I would read what the effect is when you miss, and I apply it. If not, well, I defended, and it's my turn to attack again. Back and forth until something happens. That's the general idea, and this is how you play the 9d6 game system. I really enjoyed this game system. I'm glad I got to try it. I like the elements, that the way they come together, the kind of challenges that you have in, well, how many dice am I gonna risk for a certain operation? Because the more dice I have, the more dice I can use to try to achieve a certain thing, the better chances I have, but of course I have more chances of rolling once and therefore getting downgraded. And then you can play with all of those resources and try to mitigate luck. And in the long run, you're going to roll dice so many times that you're going to have sort of like a curve in which the most eccentric results, super lucky, super bad, are going to balance each other out. And also the way the adventures are structured, very often you are given the option of, well, let's go in and maybe fight the big boss or face a big challenge, or go around, see more stuff, risk more things, and maybe find the resources to then defeat the big bad in a different way. So it can go different ways. Now, so I like the general game system. I like it quite a lot. I'm very, very happy with it. Of the two implementations that we have now, the Fantasy Quest and the ScareQuest, I definitely enjoy the ScareQuest more. The Fantasy one is completely procedural. It just connects elements randomly to create different kinds of quests on different maps. So you have great replay value there, no doubt whatsoever. But I found that outside of that, the game system, roll dice and manage your dice, well, there wasn't much else other than that. You were doing that all the time, monster after monster, challenge after challenge, and so I was playing this dice game, which ultimately felt a little bit abstract. And by the time I was fighting, the fourth Chaos Lord or the same enemy multiple times, it became a little bit repetitive. So I got a bit bored by that one. But the ScareQuest, it may have less replay value because it has more of the structure of a traditional game book. After a while, you will know where the monsters are and what's hidden under a certain thing or behind a certain door. But the balance between the story and the game mechanics was really nice and really strong. And ultimately, I like game books, and I start from the point of view that a game book is not gonna have infinite replay value. The joy of discovering, of figuring out where things are, or experiencing surprises, to me makes up for the fact that the replay value is lower, like in most forms of fiction. So the ScareQuest model is the one that I hope we're gonna see in more games in the system, because then, yeah, it was a nice, fun, modern horror, kind of tongue-in-cheek situation, because some of the monsters come from classic horror, and so what are the odds that this monster and that other monster are all together, other than it feels like it's like a strange Halloween party, and that's perfectly fine. I would think this is a great game for the Halloween period. So a game book that has a map system, paragraphs that tell you different stories with different choices, and then resolving game actions with the 96 system. That is something that I really, really enjoyed. I hope you're going to see more of that. Sfidogoi did tell me that although we only have 2 games in the system for now, there will be more coming up. I don't know, maybe at some point we're going to need a 96 Cthulhu quest, because frankly there's no game system that is good in itself, which is not even better with some tentacles in it. That's just dogma, we all know that. So, 96, a new game system. We got 2 titles in that system for now, or let's just say at least new for me. 2 titles in it, and I'm really curious to see where the system goes next.